Hey folks, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to share how I chose to use my budget by Paycheck Workbook. I may need some refinements, but on the whole I feel pretty good about the setup. We'll review my 2025 financial plan, my sinks, the categories, and the January setup and 2 paycheck budget trackers. With a retirement goal in just a few years though, I'm now facing a new barrier, debt. This fact is the main reason I'm sharing my journey. We'll talk about this more later. I have everything ready, so grab your glasses and let's get to it. I'm not new to tracking expenses and paycheck expenditures, but there's a difference between what I'm trying to do now and what I was doing in the past. I actually need to budget my funds, not just track them and put them on a ledger. I made the choice to use this workbook because it most closely aligned to what I needed to achieve my goal. I did like some of the online trackers, but in the end, this is what I chose with, and I think it's going to really be what I need to help me develop the behaviors I need for retirement. Let's get into how I set this up. All right. Let's move this around a little bit so you can see. Maybe bring this down a little bit. Okay. So in the goals that I have, of course, this first thing that I need to do on my short-term goals is to get rid of my debt. I'm going to talk about that in a little while, but it is right now a little bit more than I have ever had it in my life. The other thing I want to do this year is so that I don't get into this situation again, I'm going to shift all my non-syncing payments to checking. I just don't use my credit card if it's not a sinking fund and if it's not like a certain amount. So the other thing I need to do to make that happen is to fully fund my sinks. I also, and this is really, we're getting into a lot of stuff in one year, is to develop that 1K emergency fund. I had it last year, but I had so many things happen that that 1K emergency fund was gone in no time, which brings us down to my medium term goals. Get $10,000 in an emergency fund. I don't see any other way to be able to manage unexpected expenses that come with owning a home and being an older person than having an emergency fund that's much greater than $1,000. And of course, my medium term goals is to retire. I really am looking to retire in 2 to 5 years, and that is what I'm prepping for right now, is to work with my budget and have a solid understanding of what I need, what I'm spending, and how much I really need on a month-to-month basis so that I can make my retirement funds go as long as they can. For those of you who are familiar with the Budget Mom, she has the beginning set up where you list out all of your things that you have to pay during the year. This kind of helps you build your sinking fund, put some ideas into what you need to save for and how you need to save it. So what I did was, after I completed the financial plan, I went through and I found out what all of my yearly subscriptions were. Some of them are auto and some of them I pay. So I just put it down so I would know when it needed to come out and how much it would be as far as a monthly cost. This monthly cost is how I determined how much I would be putting into different sinking funds. Next in the book, and I'm just skipping through the tracking, I probably will not use those. I will be using this yearly spending. So when I look at this, I see this as an opportunity, something I've not been doing in the past. And I think it's an excellent tool because this is what my financial planner needs to know. When we meet quarterly, he asks me, how are your expenses? What are you know, using your money for? And what do you think the amount is that you're going to need when you retire? Having this is better than, oh, I think I spend this much every year on food, or I think I spend this much every month on this other expense. Well, now I will be able to say for sure, this is what I spend. And I think this is going to be an excellent tool, and I will be using it. As we go along in the book, then we have our budget categories. Everybody's budget categories is going to be different. Mine, I'm kind of still playing with it because I've never really organized my finances in this way. So budgeting it like this, I've really had to put some thought in it. So at this time, I have household, which includes the maintenance, the repairs, and the decor. I have utilities, pretty self-explanatory. Personal, which is all the things that I need to do the things for myself: clothing, hair care, personal care. We have food, and in the food category, I'm including groceries and dining out. I'm not making that distinction. Some people take the dining out and they put it elsewhere. The food will also include sundries from the groceries. If possible, I will separate the groceries and put it into household. For example, I buy my detergent from Amazon. It's the little detergent sheets, and I can put that in household. I don't need to put it in groceries. A lot of people buy their detergent at the grocery store. I just happen not to. So if I can split out non-food type items from this budget, I will. Health, entertainment. I do have a season tickets to a local sports team, so that's part of this, in addition to any other hobbies like crocheting. I like to play video games, so that is in here in the entertainment section. And of course, all of the streaming subscriptions that I have: Amazon, Netflix. I think those are the ones, and of course there's some music, the Amazon Music. So that's included in entertainment. Transportation, I include the insurance, maintenance, repairs, fuel, and then the taxes and tags I went ahead and included in that in. I did notice that some people are using a different category for insurance and maybe a different category for taxes, but I just felt like this is how I wanted it. I do have 2 cats, so I have a pet care column. Um, Gifting is going to be any gift. I have a separate category for holidays. I know that seems weird, but I make huge meals around holidays. I spend a lot of money on food. I decorate things as much as I can. So I felt like holidays needed to be specific to celebrating the season, not gifting for the season. Um, this category, this is my YouTube channel. I feel like I need to know what I'm spending for my budget to do this channel. When I first started, I was thinking I wouldn't need this, but it's like you buy a cord here, you buy something else there, and it turns out it's actually kind of expensive to do this. So I'm going ahead and starting to track that just so I can get a sense of how much I'm putting into this. And of course, travel. That is on my budget this month. We're scheduled our holiday travel this year, and this was not the time to be doing this, but if you don't do it early, you don't get a house. That's just all there is to it. So I had to do that. I have a long-term savings. Initially, I didn't have this, but I feel like this is something important and should be noted. And then homeowner. So for a minute, I had household. The mortgage was in the household. And then I thought, that's not really a good mix. So what I did was I took it out and I chose to put it in homeowner, and I'm including the mortgage, the insurance, and the taxes. Of course, I have a mortgage, so the insurance and the taxes are in escrow. So for now, while I have a mortgage, that I'm making a monthly payment, those things are included, but eventually they won't be. And my home ownership will just be the insurance and the taxes. The next thing on my book is me figuring out what my sinking funds. I mentioned earlier that I need to get a better handle of all of the things that just crop up during the year. My recent debt is not a result of that, though, although the vacation expense did exacerbate it. I will say that. Having these sinking funds here will allow my budget to be more balanced throughout the year. We all know that we have, vacations that we go on. If we check purchasing season tickets, our taxes, all of these things we know are coming up. So, as you guys know, the sinking funds are meant as a way for you to do the monthly contribution towards that expense and not hitting it all at once, right? Because that can just wreck your budget. Um, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I'm not doing cash envelopes. I've done cash envelopes before, and it's just not ideal for who I am and how I operate. So I'll be doing different bank accounts. Once I get started on my 1K savings, I'm going to create a new bank account for that. All of the other sinking funds will go into my existing, it's a very low yield savings account. The interest is really almost not worth mentioning, to be fair. Eventually, I may investigate these high yield savings accounts that everyone talks about. But there's so many stipulations to having those high yield savings accounts without having a fee that I'm not in a position right now to be able to do that. So let's just move on. This is the monthly layout, and I use my monthly layout a little bit different than I think a lot of people do. I don't list every single expense on this calendar. What I like to do is just show the ones that are automatic. They're going to be coming out of my account whether I do something or not. That includes, when I get paid, usually it's all of the utilities. In addition to that, I also like to put down like these special events that might be occurring, like somebody's birthday. I had a vet visit last week, which I put on here. So that's how I like to use this. It's very clean, it's uncluttered, and it only includes those things which, as far as expenses goes, that automatically come out of my account, whether I do anything about it or not. And I wanted to point out, I found this little card. I have a little stack of cards, and it says, sometimes it takes a good fall to really know where you stand. And that's how I'm feeling right now. This debt it just shows me how quickly things can just spiral. You start off with a couple unexpected things, injury that you had to spend a little extra money for, and next thing you know, you're just what? How can I not pay this off every month? So I feel like I've fallen, but I am going to stand up and I'm going to keep walking. Let's get into now the paycheck by budget tracker. So a lot of times people don't share their income, and I'm sharing my income because I am actually a state employee. This is public knowledge. Anybody who knows me can find this information. I don't care that people know about that. So I am going to go ahead and share my income because it's already out there. In addition, when we're looking at my inflows, you'll see contributions, and these come from my household. So I am a single mother, but my children are adults. They're both in their mid to early 30s, but they both live with me. My daughter moved in 2 years ago with her two young boys, and so I have my daughter, my two grandsons, and then recently my son decided that he wanted to go back to college, and he's currently living in my basement while he works on that goal. So I have a full household. And the people who are living with me, they're contributing, right? They're contributing to the utilities, the food that comes into the household, either through going to buy the food or to giving me cash for that. So I'll note any cash receipts here that my children have given to me. I actually have an envelope of $1,000 and $30, I think is how much it is, that I've got to deposit tomorrow. So that will go on the next budget tracker. I have pretty simple expenses. I don't have a whole lot, but it just, again, things happen, and all of a sudden, what your income should cover doesn't, it just is not enough. So I've got my mortgage, my electric, and my phone that comes out in that first paycheck. And if I receive my paycheck before the start of the month, I'll just use that from the prior month, because it'll either be the last day of the prior month or the first day of the existing month. I will always have a check in the middle of the month. There are some months where I have a paycheck on the 1st, a paycheck on the 16th, and then another paycheck on the 30th, right? Sometimes that does happen, but that last paycheck on the 30th, it goes towards the next month's bills. My budgets, these are broken down by paycheck. So I feel like I might spend $300 a month on food, but I haven't really been tracking this, right? I've tracked all of these. I've made sure that I've had enough funds in my account to do this, but these are my best guesses on what my variable expenses are, and they may change as things go along. So again, this is new to me, this way of budgeting, and hopefully maybe you guys will have some advice for me. We'll see. So I've included these. And then what I did was, with these sinking funds that I showed you a little while ago, instead of using these as a savings goal, I'm using this as my sinking funds. And I'm not going to use the cash envelopes. So what I did was I say, okay, if I'm putting $50 in, what is the category that it's going to go to? And then how much it's going to be, and then whatever the balance is. So I do have a little bit saved up. In my healthcare, I have a optometrist visit coming up, and I need to make sure I have enough money to purchase my glasses. So that's my priority right now. I don't have any extra funds to add to all of my other sinking funds, so I'm only focusing on the ones that I know I'm going to need immediately for now until this is done. I am putting every bit of money that I can towards this debt, this US bank debt, because I want to pay as little interest as I can to recover from this. Right now, outside of a fee that I'm paying for an extended plan on the expense that I incurred last fall, I have only paid an additional $30-ish in interest because I haven't been able to pay this off at the end of the cycle. But I want to minimize that. So every spare dollar that I have, to the best of my ability, I am going to put in. Okay. So here I have, and let me just show you what I do with my sinking funds. I was trying to figure out how I could track these, and I saw people using note cards. I saw people using little 3-ring binders with pages in it, similar to like what you would do if you had cash sinking funds, the little tracker. But I had some of these sitting around in the house, and I thought this would be a good way to do it. So I just grabbed a transaction register. And so here you can see I have healthcare. My goal is $500. And um, that may seem low or may seem high, but we all have different lives and we all set our goals according to what we think is correct. So if we see here with healthcare, what I did was I noted that I had $100 forward. That was how much was in the sinking fund account at the time that I made this deposit, and then I put the deposit in, and that's my balance for this particular sinking fund. The other one that I actually have money in happened to be pet care, and that's because I knew I was having this visit last week, and I just had $700 in there because I knew that the visit was going to be roughly $700. So that's all I have in my sinking funds right now is $850 or so. But that's not going to be that much very long because I have to pull um, 600 and I can't remember what the amount is out of here at the end of the month when I do my end of the month closeout. So that's how I do it. Again, I can't remember if I picked these up at the bank or whether they came with checks that I got years ago, but they were just sitting around in a little caddy downstairs, and I thought this will work for me. And I do have one for each of the different types of goals that I have for the sinking funds. Some of them are non-recurring. Like I have different year travel that, once I'm finished with this, I'll probably figure out something else to do with this. But I've got all my Amazon, all the vehicle stuff, gifting, and the emergency fund. And I think I will eventually put the 10K fund in this one as well. All right, so this was the first paycheck of January. Let's move on to the second one. All right, so here's the payroll, what I expected versus what I received. I do have in an envelope to go to the bank tomorrow for that. I am a little bit loaded at the end, but because my mortgage is at the beginning, it's like the amount is, if you look at the amount versus what I have to pay for the mortgage, even though there's more here, it's still pretty even. This is where I put that money in just so I wouldn't accidentally spend it because I knew I would have to be owing someone, just in a week or so. Again, I put what I think that my budget should be. I'm honestly thinking that this is going to change. This is going to change. I just don't know how. I really need to refine this so it's really representing what I'm actually doing. The goal here is, if you notice here, I had said I wanted to budget $2,100, but I was only able to pay $1,500. Oh, and by the way, if you're looking at this, you say, why do you have a negative amount? Well, again, everybody likes to do things differently. I like to include those things that I charged, the different categories, in all of these actual amounts. So this food includes things from my checking account, but it also includes things from my charge card. So the reason I have a negative is because there's $300 extra that I charged on my account, in addition to paying from my paycheck. Again, everybody does things a little different. This is how I want to do it. I'm curious if anybody else thinks the same way or whether most people are just, and if you don't, how do you track the expenses from your credit card, or do you just not use credit cards? I would love to see some comments. So let's continue on. I just wanted to clarify that. I forgot to mention that. So I have my payroll. It actually did come in on the 16th, and with the contributions, I should have roughly $3,700. I need to pay $2,700 in order to keep from being charged a interest fee next month. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. It's an additional $2,700 um, to this. I broke these up by paycheck, so I would know how much. So we'll see. I'm gonna give it my best shot, and it would be ideal if I could go ahead and get that amount paid. But we'll see how things pan out here. So this is the end of January. I haven't received all of my expenses yet, but I do have a lot of this already posted, which you'll see in a minute. Here's my pet care sink. As I mentioned earlier, I added it, and the balance is 700. I'll be pulling that out in closeout. And I taped these together because I don't need the rest of these pages. And here's my expense trackers. I went ahead and put emergency because I will be starting this hopefully within the next couple months, just so that I have this in here. I'm intentional that I'm going to do this, and that's why I want to put this here. I am tracking all of my expenses from my checking account. I started off with $400, and then I've just tracked what I've spent over the course of this paycheck and then the second paycheck. So I went ahead after the first paycheck and added all these and put on this. And then on it they went here. And then once this part is done, once it's January 31st, I will go ahead and add up these categories and put them here. So I'm continuing to do that. That's my emergency, that's my checking. I'm giving myself 2 pages of checking because I find I do need 2 pages. And then I have my sinks. And I'm trying to decide how I'm going to do this. Again, this is my first time budgeting in this way. So a lot of things that I'm going to do, I'm going to refine month over month. For now, I just said transfer, don't count, whatever. But I may decide to do something different with this. And just in case I need to, I've got an extra page here before I started my US bank. This is my credit card. So you can see I started off with $5,000 in my starting balance, which is more than I typically do not have that much in my as a balance in my Visa, or excuse me, I think it's a MasterCard US Bank. But at the end, it's like I am almost $10,000 right now. And a lot of that is, $3,000 for our travel. I just felt like I had to do that. Rachel, part of that $1,000 that's going in, she's chipping in $1,500 for this rental. This is not the complete amount. This is just the deposit. So she gave me $1,000 the other day, and she'll give me another $500 before this becomes due. This will not come due until March 10th. So I have until March 10th to get all this extra cash. So again, this is my first paycheck, and then this is my second paycheck. I do have points that I use, and I'll go ahead and redeem those when they accrue enough for me to do so. But this is my biggest problem right now, is this debt. Next month, I am going to attempt a no spend month. So I'm hoping that will help. This Civic Center thing, you know you're spending, and you say, I shouldn't really get something when I go to this sports event. But you're there, you're thirsty, everybody else around you has a beverage or some nachos, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go get some nachos. And I really need to get a handle of this. Just honestly, just stop doing this, because I think it's not helpful for my budget. Of course, I had a birthday. One of my grandsons had a birthday, and so I was buying things for him for that birthday, and that was an extra expense. Eventually, when I have my sinking funds in order, these gifting things, they won't be taking from my monthly budget in such a way as they are right now. So transitioning into that is just going to take a little bit of time. All right, so that was that. Here's my debt. So as of, I think this is due on February 10th. So on or about January 10th, I got a balance of a U.S. bank statement that said that had a balance of 5,900. I don't actually owe 5,900. It was 4,000 and some change, because I set up an extended pay plan when I was hit with it was almost $10,000 for a house repair that had to be done. It was not something I was expecting, and it was on the tail end of an injury I had earlier in the year. I had physical therapy twice a week. I had special types of therapy. I was going to the foot doctor every couple of months, or sometimes more than once in a month. And it was taxing my ability to save. At the time that my home repair cost came up, I did have $1,000 in my savings account. But when you're hit with $10,000, it was not quite 10,000. It was 9,000 and some change. That just completely wrecks your budget. And that's where I kind of said, okay, well, short term, let's get that $1,000 back in there, and then long term, $10,000 at least for emergency funds, like things that are going to happen like that. At Christmas time, I did limit the amount of money I spent. I normally spent more than what I did this year. Same thing with the birthday. I would normally spend a little bit more. But with the amount of money that I owe, it didn't help. And it has grown and grown, and I just need to focus solely on getting this taken care of. So that's what you're going to see over the next few months, is my focus on this U.S. bank amount that I owe. And here you can see my extended pay amount that I have due is $42.58, and that's where I got these amounts here. I took $42.58 and divided by 2, and that was $21.29. But it just was not there to do this. It was close, but I didn't want to completely dry out my account in case something came out that I was not expecting. So yeah, that's where I stand right now. I have met or have I? I haven't met my minimum payment, so I at least have to get my minimum payment. But I think I'm going to be pretty close to that 4,200. We'll see. I will be using this to try and track this. I don't know that I'm going to be doing all of this on the bottom. Hopefully you guys can see that. Yeah. But I will be kind of tracking it and showing what I owe, what's the minimum payment, and trying to get that under control. This monthly network tracker, in my research to figure out what planner I wanted, I would watch a lot of videos of people filling out the Budget Mom. Erin Condren has a new budget planner. There were many other YouTubers who had their own unique budget planners. I think Sarah Marie has her own budget planner. But this one just kind of fit my needs. But when I was watching people, most people weren't filling this out. I think it's important for me, if my YouTube channel is talking about budgeting and working towards retirement, that we talk about how much I have for retirement, because that's what the page is about. But most people aren't using this. If people are interested in that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. In any case, I might be putting this in maybe quarterly, just as a quarterly update on whether or not my retirement funds are in a place that's good, whether they're going up or down, depending on the case, who knows. So, if you're watching this and you're using the Budget Mom Budget by Paycheck Workbook. Tell me whether or not you're using this page. And if you are, what are the assets you're including? Do you include your house, your car? Just curious how people are using this. All right. So, and again, I will absolutely be using these breakdowns, right? The pages that analyze your actual spending, because this is going to be key to understanding whether or not I can afford to retire in 2 years or 5 years. All of this is going to be important. So I absolutely will be using this every single closeout. Now, this next one, the monthly meal plan, let me tell you something. So I was originally not going to do this. I was going to maybe put down when I was going to upload videos on YouTube. But last week, my daughter walks into my bedroom, which happens to be my office because I do work from home. And she says, "Mom, you know what we should do? We should do a no spend February, and you should talk about that on your channel." And I was like, yeah, a lot of people do no spend January. She says, "Well, I can't do no spend Januaries because it's Levi's birthday." And I agreed with her, of course. But I have never had my daughter come to me and say, "Let's do anything no spend," right? I mean, she knows I've been working on this. She knows that my debt is out of control right now. And she is encouraging me to do what I should be doing, right? And not only that, she's also doing it. She did just recently have to purchase a new car. Her old car, there was some metal or something in her engine. I don't know. It was no longer fit to be driving around in. So she purchased a vehicle. Um, she was fortunate enough that she had enough savings to where she purchased it with cash, but she's still feeling the crunch. So she came in and she's like, "We should do this." And I'm like, "Absolutely, let's do this." A little bit later that day, my son comes upstairs. I think it was about dinner time. We were prepping something to eat, and he's like, "You're doing that YouTube channel. I think I need to be more conscientious about my spending." I think his actual words were intentional. He actually used the word intentional in my finances. So what that made me think is, you know, have you ever heard the saying, your vibe attracts your tribe? Well, I think your vibe also influences your tribe because my kids are my tribe. I have some colleagues at work. I would almost say they were my friends. I have some people in the neighborhood. I almost would say they're my friends, but my tribe is my family, and it is heartening to see, number one, that they're supporting me in this, but also that they're also looking at what they're doing with a keener eye. So I thought that was very cool. My initial goal is I create that type of tribe here on the YouTube channel, and I do have a Discord channel. Hopefully, people will start joining it and having open conversations about how they're managing their debt, their retirement, all of those things. So that said, I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do a no spend in February, I need to go ahead. Ooh, look at that. I need to go ahead and start tracking what I'm spending on my my food, right? Because a lot of my expenses, I think, you're gonna find it's gonna be dining out in Civic Center, and I just need to change that habit. I just don't need to be eating out all that much. Oops, let me make sure I got that knocking my thing off was kind of rough. Okay, here we go. So I will be tracking this. I don't know whether I'm going to put the meals that we eat, but I will track what the expenses were. I'm going to put those on here. In February, the idea is that I'm going to have zero in dining out and Civic Center. That is going to be the biggest goal I have. I think that's going to help out. So I will be tracking that. And it's just funny how things change when you have a conversation, and you have people of like mind that talk about a problem, aiming at a solution and not just stressing about the problem. So I thought that was really cool. I wanted to share that with you. So let me check my notes on what I wanted to talk about. Um, I think I covered everything, right? Um, the other thing I wanted to talk about is growing the channel, right? If you guys go down and like or subscribe, that would be great. Do it if this topic really is, you have a heart for it. And I do welcome your feedback and suggestions because, again, this type of budgeting is new to me. I need my tribe to help me get that vibe, right? If you have some advice for me, if you have ideas that may help me, I'm all for it. The other thing, like for the sake of engagement, consider just dropping a dollar sign down there, right? It helps a lot in building the community. And, that's it. The next upload is going to be the February setup on January 27th. I'll upload my January closeout on February 1st. And going forward, I'm going to have a weekly check-in, and those will occur every Sunday. Looking forward to seeing you then. Bye.